Yeah. Okay. All right. We have Southeast Colorado, Southern Virginia, Chillicothe. I don't know how you say that. Missouri, Southern Oregon too. Very cool. Iowa, Washington, North Idaho. Very cool. Very cool. All right. What type of businesses do we have here today? I want to know what type of businesses we have. What are you guys on the phone about? What are you guys chatting with people about? I want to know what type of sales calls we're doing, what type of DM conversations we're having. Insurance, okay. Property casualty, health, life. I've sold all of them, so I used to own an agency. Coaching, all right. Yes to all, very cool. Okay, bookkeeping, awesome. What else we got? Cosmetics, okay. Health and wellness, okay. Virtual assistant for women in health and wellness. Okay. What else do we got for businesses here? Health and life agent. Okay. So we got some agents here. So there's a lot of sales processes in the agents. I used to go through their sales trainings years ago, and I don't think they've updated them since the 80s. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, maybe they have. I've been out of the industry for, a hot minute now, but holy smokes. Oh, Southwest Idaho health and life agent. I'm in the process of getting my life and health insurance license. Okay, cool. So we got some insurance agents and stuff here, got some coaches, got some consultants. So today we're going to talk about the three-part sales conversation that actually converts. All right. A lot of times people will overcomplicate the sales process, or they won't have a process at all. All right. So we're going to eliminate both of those issues today. Among other issues, we're going to talk about some of the things that I see, and then we're going to break down the three-part process, and then we'll save some time for some Q&A and stuff like that at the end. So what is our agenda for today? We're going to do a quick welcome and what we're here for, and then we're going to get right into the problem that is keeping you stuck within your sales process. All right. A lot of times I see people that are just winging it. They have messy processes, messy offers. They're second guessing it. They don't know how to overcome objections. They don't have a follow-up process, all of those things. And then we're going to talk about the fix, which then leads us into our three-part sales conversation. All right. So I have a framework for that. I'm sure you've seen many of frameworks out there. So this is going to be something that you can kind of customize and tweak to your industry. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Sales Mama groundwork, your basically your next move if you want to continue support. And then we'll do our giveaway, and then we'll have our live Q&A. So we're going to move pretty quickly over this hour together. Don't worry, this replay will be out later this afternoon. In addition to your quick start guide, that's going to have more information from this live training today. So that's going to be some additional free resources for you as well. Okay. All right. You're here because you are already doing the work, but the sales probably are not matching your effort. Maybe you are cold calling, maybe you're out doing outreach, maybe people are reaching out to you, maybe you're having conversations, you don't feel confident in your conversations, maybe you don't have a process for your conversation, so you're getting on the phone and maybe you're being friend zoned right away, or you have anxiety on a call, and you don't know how to close, or maybe you're being like a people pleaser on a call. All of those things. Okay. And by the end of today, I want you to have the framework that you can use today so that you can start closing clients as early as today if you have sales calls booked today. All right. So who is Sales Mama? What is Sales Mama? Sales Mama is for women who refuse to choose between their life and their business, their motherhood and their business. Okay. It is built specifically for ambitious women. Mothers are, that's what I am, with big plates and big goals. So a lot of times you're probably taking care of somebody full time. You may have a farm or a ranch or a full household, something in addition to what your business is that takes up a lot of your time. You hear that saying of, we all have 24 hours in a day. Well, I got 4 kids, I got a farm, I got all these things. I'm like, we don't have the same 24 hours in a day. So I want a process that works for me. that also honors my family and my life. And I'm not going to sacrifice my health, my sanity, and my family for anything anymore. I did that for a decade and it got me nowhere. I worked myself ragged and into the ground, and I made less money then than I do now using these frameworks that I'm going to show you. Okay. And my goal is to help you scale to consistent 5-figure months without 24/7 hustle. I've even helped women scale to consistent six-figure months before. So simple system, powerful strategies that fit your life right now. All right. So we're not doing these 80-hour weeks, these 100-hour weeks, like that shit's for the birds. And this is a movement. Okay. This is a community. This is not something that's just like 1, 2, 3 steps, psh, see you later type of thing. Right. Like we're in it to win it. We're, collaboration over competition. I want to see everybody win. Okay. So this is not just like come in and cutthroat anything. Like we are here to support and celebrate each other and lift each other up. So I have zero tolerance for any drama bullshit. Okay. Like we are all here to see each other rise. And that's what we stand for. So who am I? I am Sausha. I'm a mom of 4. I'm a ranch gal. I've been in sales for over 20 years. Like I eat, sleep, and breathe sales, marketing, and business. I have managed to build my own multi-6-figure company while raising kids and running, farming, all of those things. I've also helped scale and consulted for many a multi-7-figure businesses too, but I was burnt out on the hustle. I was burnt out on the bro tactics. For those of you who are in agencies right now and are selling for a lot of those companies, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've had to sit through those long ass boring trainings where you're just like, you want to scream because you want to like pull your eyes out of your head because you're just like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing ever. I've sat through so many of those trainings and it feels like you're forcing people into a decision. You're forcing people to buy something that doesn't even maybe feel aligned with how you show up or what your values are. Or maybe they're pushing products because maybe universal life policies are the thing that is that is on special this month, and so we want to sell as many universal life policies as we possibly can, or it's whole life, or whatever it is for those of you who are in in those companies. And so it's like, how many of those can we sell this month versus what the client actually needs? So I've been in those positions before and I was totally burnt out on it. And so now I want to help you scale with the confidence, with the clarity, and the freedom to choose what is best for you, your values, your freedom, and your family, plus your clients, obviously, right? We don't want to sell anybody anything they don't need. That's where it feels slimy and gross and pushy. All right. So has anybody ever been in that position before where they have been either sold to in a way that just felt like, gross, this is gross? Or has anybody recently had an experience where they felt like they had to sell to somebody that just kind of felt gross? Yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I know a lot of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, where you're just like, ugh, I feel like I need to take a shower after this. Yep. Yep. Okay. So I'm not alone there. And I know, I get it. Like we got to hit our numbers. We got to make money. Money is what makes the world go round, right? But at the same time, sales is a service. Sales is helping people solve a problem. It is helping get to the right solution for that person. It is not just pushing a product or a service on somebody. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about here in this 3-part conversation here. All right. So you have the effort. You have the effort. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have the effort. And if effort equated income, everybody here would be millionaires. I guarantee it. But it's not always about the effort. It's about strategy. It's about structure. And it's about systems, things that are rinse and repeat and scalable. Okay. Maybe you're posting, maybe you're DMing, maybe you're cold calling. For those of you who are also coaches and consultants, maybe you're tweaking your offers and trying to figure out, what is the missing link, but it feels like you're just throwing noodles at a wall. Things are duct taped. Maybe they're not structured. And every sale feels like maybe you're starting from scratch. You feel like you're winging it and you're exhausted. You're just like, when will it stop? When will things get easier? Okay. Is anybody in that boat right now? Does anybody feel that? Which one lands the most for you? I want to hear where people are at right now. I'll give you a second here. Okay. While you guys are dropping yours in the chat, I just want you to know that a lot of times you have been taught to build a business in survival mode, in scarcity mode, and not necessarily to thrive. Okay. And that is one of the things that can be keeping you stuck. All right. So you don't have a sales system, right? You don't have a rinse and repeat sales system. I know probably some of you here have a CRM. Does anybody here have a CRM? Customer relationship management system? Who here has a CRM? I'm sure the agents do, but I'm wondering with everybody else, some of the others might not. I feel like I'm trying to hit reset button now that both my kids are starting school in a few weeks. I do Dopsado. Okay. And for those of you who have children, school age children, September is like the new year for us, right? It's like summer was like a shit show, right? You're just like, oh my God. And then you're like, I can't wait for September. It feels I'm a new woman. Like I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but I also crave rhythm and routine, So I still have my two youngest that are home with me, but my two older ones go to school, and it like feels like such a breather to just have like two kids to watch instead of four kids to watch, so it just makes life so much easier. So working on improving my system. Yeah, my assumption is that most people here don't have a system. And that's not to shame anybody. It's just where we're at, and we're here because we want to build a system, right? And so maybe you have leads coming in, or you have leads that you can engage with. Obviously, the effort is there. Obviously, the hustle is there, but the system is not. Okay. You've got the work ethic. If you are an 80s, an 70s kid, 80s kid, 90s kid, you probably know how to work. Okay. No offense to those that are like born a little bit later, but I've seen the work ethic go down just a smidge the later the years go. So that's not to, dig at anybody, but that's just, you probably have the work ethic if you're in those decades. But without a system, you're just guessing all the time. And that leads to decision fatigue. It's like you constantly are like on all the time. But when you have a system, it's like, boom, just go. You don't have to really think about it. And guessing can be costing you so much money, especially if you don't have a system that is automated. So we're going to stop winging our conversations and start using proven frameworks. All right. We'll have a little bit of structure, and I am not a rigid structure person. I am more like, here's my sandbox and here's where I can play. All right. But when somebody like hard and fast tells me to do something, I like almost immediately do the opposite. So just know that like you guys here, this is your sandbox, and that's why I like frameworks, because it's like I want to give you the tools and you can create what works for you. So take whatever works today and toss what doesn't, because I don't want to hard and fast tell you that like you have to say this exact thing. Because if you're like me, you'd almost be like, fuck you, Sausha. Like, because that's what I would do, right? I'd be like, peace out. Don't tell me what to do. So I don't want to be that person, but we do want somewhat of a structure. We want somewhat of a routine. We want some scripts, not that we're going to like memorize word for word, but we want to have at least quality questions that we want to ask. We want to get to the root of what their pain is. We want to be able to solve their problem effectively and accurately, and then be able to pitch to them in a way that feels good without just listing a bunch of things, right? Because people don't care about things. They want to make sure that you can solve their problem. All right. And then we'll talk a little bit about objections. And this will help it feel natural and not pushy. Okay. That's where the like old sales method is like, you need this. And if you don't have this, all hell's going to break loose and you're going to die. Like, we don't want that. Okay. So we're not going to hustle harder, and we're not going to force people into a yes. Okay. Because that ends up in buyer's remorse. That ends up in refunds. That ends up in chargebacks. All of those things are not good. It also ends up in dissatisfied clients. Like nobody wants bad reviews. You want clients that are happy to work with you. And then your clients can speak for you, referrals, affiliates. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Okay. So imagine this: consistent 5-figure months, a business that supports your life. Okay. not that dread of like, oh my God, I have to make this phone call. Like phone calls can actually be fun. They can be fun. I've had people get off a phone call before, a sales call, and say, your sales call changed my life. Okay. Like you can have empowering sales calls with people that are like, this process was so smooth and easy. I can't wait to work with you. Okay. And it does not have to be this old, outdated, pushy, gross method. All right. It can feel supernatural to how you show up, what you value, and aligned with how you think, act, and feel, and what your product and service is. Okay. So we're done winging it. We're going to find a method or the framework that works for you. We're going to stop chasing. We're going to start closing. You are cut out for this. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. All right. Even though whoever told you what, you're here for a reason. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight. Okay. So now without further ado, we're going to get into the 3-part sales conversation. This is high level. We'll get into each one of them here. And then I'll have an opportunity for you guys to screenshot at the end. And then when you get your quick start guide later this afternoon, we'll have some of this stuff in there with other examples as well. Okay. So this is simple. This is repeatable, and it is profitable. I hate scripts that are like 15 pages long. Has anybody had to go through a script that is just like 15 pages, 20 pages, and it is just, it's impossible to keep up with. And you're like fumbling through it, trying to have a conversation with somebody. Anybody have an experience like that? I see a few head nods, but drop it in the chat. I'm curious if anybody else. What script experiences have you had? I've reviewed so many scripts that it's just like, holy smokes. Just looking at this is overwhelming, you know? And I'm the salesperson. So, okay. Yep. All right. So what we're going to do first, in my honest opinion, many scripts are negative out of the box. Yes. Thank you. What I like to joke and say, a lot of scripts basically focus on pain the entire time, right? That's where I say like, you need this and you need me or you're going to die without me, right? It's like making people feel so terrible that they feel like they have no choice but to do this or their life is going to fall apart, you know? And it's like pouring salt in an open wound. And that, again, is why I think, you know, women, we're very empathetic creatures. We're very naturally nurturing. And so that does not feel good to us. At least it does not to me, right? I don't want anybody to leave ever feeling worse than when they came to me, right? And so I feel like that is a big reason why this old, outdated method of sales feels so misaligned for women specifically, because naturally we want to help, naturally we want to nurture, naturally we want to make people feel better, right? But other methods are like, dig into the pain point, make them really feel it, and if they don't feel it enough, then you're screwed and you're not going to close it. And it's like, there's other ways. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Current script is short and sweet, but not fun or comfortable. Previous script was 5 pages long. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I was just working with one of my gals. I think her script was like 12 pages. And then there was another gal that had like a 15-page script. I'm like, holy like, do you actually read all of this? This is insane. So, and that doesn't even include the objection handling page. Like that's just the script. All right. So we're going to talk about this framework. We're going to open with clarity, lead with confidence, and close with certainty. This is the framework that I have used. I help my clients use. And this works both in the DMs, in email, on calls, in person. It is a flow. It is a process. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay. Or today. So open with clarity. We want to hook their attention first. Okay. So when you are getting on, like on the phone or talking to somebody or anything like that, right? We want to be very crystal clear on what it is that we help people with, who we help, how we help, what we help with. And a lot of times people are not clear on this, right? They fumble through their words, they run on for 2 minutes on something. And so we really want to make sure that we are very crystal clear on what it is that we help with, right? If they're unfamiliar with it. And when we're opening with clarity too, we also want to make sure that we're setting the expectation for, for the call. Like that's another thing that I do for calls specifically, or in-person meetings. Like, hey, so and so, I'm so glad that, we got to sit down and meet today. We have 45 minutes together. I'm going to ask you some further questions about yourself, get to know each other a little bit more. And if that sounds like a good fit, then we're going to talk about this program. And if that program sounds like a good fit, we're going to go ahead and walk through the registration together. How does that sound? Right? So you're like setting the expectation for the call. Okay. Real quick, very confident, very clear. Okay. So that it's not just like, well, hey, we have 45 minutes and we're just going to chat and blah, 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 right? Because then you're like friend zoned. You've lost authority of the conversation, right? And when you lose authority, it's hard for you to then confidently pitch and sell at the end. Not that you don't want to be friendly and kind. That's not what I'm saying. But when you lack authority on the call, people then, if you're thinking about it of like a hierarchy, if you lack authority, now you're down here and this person is like, well, how can I trust this person if they're, below me type of thing, right? Like I'm coming to you for advice, but I feel like I'm struggling to ask you for advice because you lack confidence and you lack authority, right? It's kind of like when you go to the doctor, which we're not really going to get into like my whole opinion on that, but let's say that you go to the doctor, right? You expect them to have a medical opinion. You expect them to diagnose you with something. You expect them to be the professional and have the authority to help you with a problem. You need to show up that same way in your emails, in your DMs, in your offers, in your calls, okay? And so you do that by crystal clear, telling them what it is that you help with and setting the expectation for what's about to come, okay? So for those of you who are here, can you give me an example of who you help and how you help them and what the outcome is? Okay. So I help busy moms hit consistent 5-figure months without more hours, right? Very simple. Okay. You guys can, while you're working on that, I'll kind of go on to the next one. But if you can, go ahead and pop it in the chat and I'll let you know if we need to simplify it more too. The next thing is you lead with pain. Lead with the pain, but we're not going to stay stuck there. This is where I differentiate from most scripts out there. Most scripts stay in the pain and then they don't spend a whole lot of time on the vision, right? Like I want to name the pain, obviously, because that's where people are at. Like that's where they're at. Okay. They're researching the pain. They're looking for solutions to the pain. Like they're in that pain mindset. Okay. So we definitely want to name their struggle and name their pain. Okay. But then we want to transition them into what is possible. All right. Transition them into what is possible. What would life look like if it was this? Okay. Tell me what your big picture vision is. Tell me what life would look like in 6 months from now if we solved this problem. What is it? One of my favorite things that I do is if I could wave a magic wand, what would you want to be, do, or have? Right? If time and money wasn't an issue, what is your big vision? What is your goal? What is stopping you from achieving the next thing? Right? So start to think about those things as you are talking to your client. Okay. An example here, if you're tired of posting nonstop and hearing crickets, imagine clients DMing you ready to buy, right? Like if you had a mini chat automation set up and, you're posting and, something resonates and they start to comment on your post and then, it leads into your inbox and you take it from there. Okay. Or if you are sending 9-word emails, like these are all things that we can talk about in the Q&A, but you're sending 9-word emails and people are raising their hand to those, right? Perfect. There's another prospect that is interested in working with you. Okay. And so then you've named the pain, they've replied to the pain. Now you take it from there and helping them paint the vision. All right. I help women in health and wellness manage their day-to-day tasks and special projects. Okay. I help people provide proper minerals to animals. I help people with mortgage protection. Okay. And then you want to present yourself, position yourself as the solution. I'm going to add the word authority here because most people will present themselves as a solution, but they won't do it with authority. And that's the difference, right? Even if you're like talking on Zoom or in person, I want you to have that authoritative presence, right? Like if you think about Amy Cuddy's power posing, where you like have more of a confidence pose, even if you like need to lean in or lean out, like how do you show up in a confident way? That will really make a difference on call. Okay. Making sure you're looking them in the eye, making sure you're smiling, making sure you're paying attention. There's so many things that will help just with your body posture and your tone, in addition to presenting you as the solution, right? You want to be confident, you want to be simple. And this is the part where we're not going to oversell. What I mean by that is we are not going to list out every single thing that you do. Has anybody done this before? Where you're like, to work with me, you get 16 sessions and every session includes this, and we're going to do 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 this. Or insurance, and you're like, and you get this covered and this coverage and this coverage and this coverage and this, and the people are like, is it what I need? Like, I don't care about anything else, right? So don't overwhelm people with details. Okay. They simply want to know if that's what you solve, and then keep it simple. I had a shop teacher once. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I had a shop teacher once, and he would always talk about the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, right? And so I've just carried that with me forever. It's like, you just got to keep it simple, So if somebody's like, I have this problem, great. That's exactly what I help women with. We're going to do it in this, and this step. Okay. The investment is this. Let me know what questions you have. And if they have questions, that's where you can start to answer those questions. But if somebody is feeling overwhelmed, if somebody is feeling burnt out, if any of those problems that they're having, and then all of a sudden you start listing all of these things, what do you think they're going to feel? Can anybody guess? Yeah. Overwhelmed, burnt out. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's going to put them right back into that same mindset. And they're going to be like, maybe she can't help me because this just sounds like more overwhelm. Right. So we have to be very mindful of how we present our solution, because you can help them, but we don't want to overload them with the solution. Bite-sized pieces. Okay. Bite-sized pieces. They just need to know that you can help them. They don't need to know the next 6 months in a 45-minute session. All right. You can tell them more in the onboarding or if they have questions. All right. Next, lead with confidence. We're going to ask the right questions. And what I mean here is I want you to ask industry specific questions, more specific questions. Most scripts out there and most people out there will just say things like, what are your goals? And it's such a broad, vague question that it doesn't really get to the root of anything, right? But for those of you, that are in health and wellness, that are in business, that are in, insurance and stuff like that, cosmetics or anything, ask industry specific questions. Okay. So for example, if you're in the coaching space, you can say, have you worked with any other coaches before? And if yes, what was your experience with those previous coaches? What do you feel like was missing from that previous coaching program? Right? Like, get more specific, because you want to understand what is missing and why they are here, right? Or if it's insurance, and they're working with a current insurance provider and they want to switch, it's like, well, who is your current insurance provider and what are your current rates and what is the biggest thing that you're switching for? Do you find that you're properly taken care of with your current insurance provider, or do you prefer more hands off? Like, you need to ask better questions so that you can get better answers. Okay. We don't want to just leave these surface levels like, what brings you here today? What are your goals? What's your biggest challenge? Right? Like, those are very, very vague and surface level. Okay. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to losing weight? What's your biggest challenge when it comes to balancing your hormones? What's your biggest challenge when it comes to, shopping for homeowners insurance in your industry? And, like, be specific in those types of things. Okay. Next, this one always cracks me up because I'm like doing a training and all I'm doing is talking, but listen more than you talk. On a sales call, you should only talk about a fourth to a third of the time. Okay. When I review sales calls, I like skip around, like, just to make sure. And if I hear like my client talking more, I'm like, you failed. Like, you're talking too much. Like, the person needs to talk more, right? Because it's not about you. I think we always forget that. Yes, we're in sales. Yes, we're in business, but it's not about us. It's about them and helping them solve a problem. So how are we going to help them solve a problem if we're talking all the time? We need to uncover what their problem is and ask better questions. Okay. And we can do that with body language by agreeing with them, by head nods, by, yeah, okay, I get that. Tell me more about that. Right. Like, it doesn't take very much, and you can interject little stories here and there as they relate. But again, we don't want to be friend zoned. You can be friendly, you can be kind, but when you get friend zoned, I promise you, it is so hard to sell when you get friend zoned. You will almost never make that sale if you get friend zoned. Okay. And it's okay to sell to friends, but you need to put your business hat on. Like, I will literally tell people, okay, I'm putting my business hat on now. I'm putting my sales hat on now, and I'm going to talk to you in a different tone. Okay. You can do that, but you have to be very crystal clear on, like, okay, I'm going to be your friend now, or okay, I'm going to be a salesperson now. Okay. So you just have to know that. But you should not be talking a whole lot in the call. You will talk for maybe the first 5 minutes of the call. You'll ask some questions in the middle, and then you'll talk during the pitch, and then any objection handling. That is about it. Okay. The rest of it is going to be them telling you their problem, their story, the things they've tried, the things they struggled with. You want to get to know this person as much as possible. Okay. And you cannot do that if you are talking. Next, you're going to validate them and frame the gap. Okay. Position without pressure. And what I mean by validate is let them know that you understand. Even if you don't absolutely know what it's like to be in their shoes, like, you understand the concept, you understand the position that they're in, you understand that you can help them, even if that exact situation is not something that you have dealt with, right? Like, I understand that you're frustrated. I understand that, whatever it is. And even if you don't agree with them, agree to disagree, because you are never going to argue your way into a sale. All right. Their experience is their experience. Always will be, and there is nothing that you can do about it. Okay. So validate that they had their experience. Okay. And then you can position your offer as helping them solve the problem that they had within their experience. Okay. So that's where you kind of frame the gap. I totally understand that that's what happened. And that is, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I would actually love to help you solve that problem. Do you want to talk about this thing that we can help you with? And they would either say yes or they would say no, right? And so you don't have to pressure them by going straight into something, right? Sometimes I'll see people where someone will pour their heart out and they'll say, here's a link to my calendar. Like, what? No, validate and acknowledge that person. Like, there is nothing worse than if somebody finds you on, email or social media and they pour their heart out to you. And then your response is, if you want to chat more, let's book a call. Like, no, validate, acknowledge, ask a question, get to know them a little bit more, and then invite them in for a call. Okay. Because that tells me that you're not seeing them, you're not hearing them. And that, like, to me, that is just like, you don't give a shit. Right. And you're not here if you don't give a shit, like you do. Right. And so we want to show that, because how would you feel if you poured your heart out to somebody and they were just like, here's a link, buy here? You'd be like, I'm never coming back. Right. Because they're just trying to sell you. It's the same thing as if somebody pours their heart out to you on a call or in an appointment and you're like, here's the product. No, you want to validate and acknowledge and then ask if they can talk about the solution. Okay. Next, then we actually talk more about the solution. Okay. That's where we close with certainty. And this is where you have to have so much confidence in what it is that you do. And if you have any sense of doubt in what it is that you do, people will sense that. People will feel that. Okay. So I want you to know your products and services inside out. I want you to practice pitching in the mirror, practice pitching to friends and family, practice sales calls with friends or colleagues or acquaintances. The better you can get at pitching yourself and just sharing what it is that you do and how you help, it will help when it comes real time. Okay. It's like showing up to the game, practicing, and then showing up and hitting it out of the park. Okay. Because when you do go to pitch, you want to confidently relay that you can help them with this thing. But if you're like, I think I can help you, some people will be like, red flag. You think you can help? And that'll be like an immediate turnoff for people. Or if you have like this low energy about you where you're just like, yeah, that's what we could do. We could do that. And you're just kind of like nonchalant about it, not confident in it. Like, if it were me on the other end of that, I'd be like, is this person serious right now? Like, do they even really want to work with me? Right. And so you have to be confident in your product or service and know without a doubt that you can help them. Okay. And so if you lack confidence, this is the thing that you need to practice the most. And next, I know that's part's not like super in here. But here, handle objections calmly. Does anybody here struggle with objections? Just drop a yes or no in the chat. Yes. Okay. I know a lot of folks do, but I just kind of want to see where folks are at. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Okay. I freeze up. Okay. Um, okay. Absolutely. Okay. What ends up happening is more often than not, the no is a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. Most people, when they say no, it's just like a form of self-preservation, right? Like their guard goes up, like people don't want to be sold to, you know what I mean? It's nothing against you. It's not something to take personally. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Okay. It's like, oh no, I need to think about it. No, I got to talk to my husband. No, I don't have money. No, I can't afford it. Okay. So what I want you guys to do, and this can be an entire training all on its own. This is something that I absolutely help people with. But what I end up encouraging people to do is expect the no. Always expect the no. Okay. That way, when you get a yes, you're just like, oh, hell yeah, this was super easy. Right. So expect the no, embrace the no, and be prepared for it. And so come up with 10, 15, 20 different ways that you can overcome the objections that you would have. The most common ones are time, money, spouse, will this work for me? And oh gosh, now I'm drawing a brain fart. There's another one. But those are like the basic ones, right? And so come up with, 3 different ways that you can answer each one of those main objections, because what's going to happen is they will say them, and you'll want to acknowledge and ask a question. I totally understand you. Is it that you don't have any money, or you've just never spent that type of money on this before? Is it that you just haven't budgeted for this before? The constant I'm not interested. Yeah, well, if somebody's not interested, then somebody's not interested. That one might be just something that, unless they like opted in for something, that one might be something that you circle back to. But like the spouse one, right? Like, okay, if the roles were reversed, what would your spouse say to you right now? Or does your spouse typically support you? Or should we set up another time where your spouse can be present? We can all make this decision together. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do to, overcome that objection. Or even say like, well, let's get a deposit now. We can lock in your spot. Let's set up a phone call for tomorrow, and the 3 of us can get on the phone and see what questions he has. There's a lot of things that you can do to kind of handle that objection calmly, but you have to practice them before, so that you don't freeze up when you get to that point. And so let's assume the yes, right? Or the no. We can kind of go with both here. But you want to make the next step super, super simple. Okay. So when I'm on the phone with somebody and they're like, okay, like, let's go ahead. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to send you the link. I want you to go grab a credit card or debit card. You're going to go ahead and sign up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up for your next call. And then we're going to talk in 2 days. And then I'll walk you through your orientation. And then we're going to do this, right? And so you're very clear on what the next steps are. You also want to re-celebrate with them, to just make sure that, they're solid in their decision. It helps reduce buyer's remorse. You can ask any last minute questions, reassure them that they made a really great choice, because sometimes people just have a lot of fear around, making big decisions, right? And so you want to let them know that what they are doing is the right decision, that they did do something really great for themselves or their family or their colleagues or their business, whatever it is, right? So you also want to have this belief transfer, is what I call it. So you have so much belief that this product or service will work for them, that you are now transferring that belief to them, so that they start to feel it as well. And they're as excited about this transformation as you are. Okay. And then it's like, let's get started. Are you ready to dive in? I can't wait to work with you, however you want to say it from there. Okay. And again, with the next steps, you can send them an email, you can book, your next appointment, sign the documents, whatever that next step is there. Make sure that you are clearly walking them through that. There is nothing worse than if you get the yes and you just sign them up and then it's like, poof, gone, like nothing after that. Don't be that person. Okay. You always want to make sure that you are walking them through the steps and asking them if they have any questions throughout the process. Okay. And then here is just the 3-part sales conversation at a glance. So if you guys want, you can take a screenshot there. And does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to share at this point? We got about 15 minutes left. So, and don't worry, you'll get the replay of this, so you can always come back and take a screenshot of this later too. So, but if you have any questions or anything you want to share, drop them in the chat. I can answer them here in just a minute. So, but the women who win the fastest are not the ones that learn the most. They're the ones who implement the fastest. There's a saying that says, if you were 30 failures away from success, how fast would you fail, right? So how quickly can you implement? How fast can you do these things? How quickly can you role play? How quickly can you overcome objections? How quickly can you learn these things versus just going out there and consuming more, consuming more, consuming more, right? So implement, 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 action, action, action. Okay. And so here I want to share how we can work together further. Then we are going to do our live giveaway, and then we're going to save the rest of our time for Q&A for both the three part, and then if you have any questions about this as well. But if you are ready to stop winging it and sell with confidence, if you're tired of like messy offers, if you're tired of just throwing things at a wall, if you're tired of second guessing, hustling, all of those things, this is exactly why I created my Sales Mama Groundwork program. Okay. So here it is the foundation of your business. It is, think of it as like you build a foundation and then you build from there. What most people end up doing is if you're building a house, they're picking out all the fancy things first and they're building on sand, right? And so this groundwork is the foundation. It is the system. It is the process. It is the scripts. It is all of those things that you need to be able to scale to those 10K months, 15K months, 20K months. Okay. It's for those who want the clarity, the confidence, and the consistent sales. I have the simple frameworks that you can use again and again and again and again. Okay. And so it is, I guess, the no BS system. I'm very no BS if you haven't noticed. I'm very just like tell it to you straight. So in there, I have my Sales Mama method, which is the proven process to sell with confidence and clarity. It's the same thing that the folks in my Sales Mama school get. I have my no apology sales method. This is where you stop people pleasing, you stop bending over backwards, and you step into your full authentic self, your full authority driven self in a kind, respectful, empathetic manner. Okay. I have plug and play scripts and funnels. I have over 30, actually, I think there's probably like 60 in there now, call to action prompts and scripts. I have weekly storytelling schedules. I have sales trackers, money trackers, setter trackers. I have different offer stacks on how you can break down how to hit your 10K months and 15K months. I have the scaling system. I think somebody had mentioned in the chat here, I'll answer this question here in just a second too. But I have the scripts, I have the pricing strategies, I have recommendations on backend tools and CRMs and different software systems. I have all of that stuff. Okay. So all of the tech stuff, all of the support stuff, all of the system stuff, all of the script and swipe copy, and even like who to hire and when to hire. I have all of that in there too. And then messaging and offer clarity frameworks. Okay. And then when you join, you also get 30 days bonus in my Sales Mama school. So this is my my big program. It's a 6-month program, but you get to trial it. So in there, you also get access to the 30 days of my Sales Mama circle, which is my community. So you'll get to hang out with all the other gals in there. You also get the mini program. And then if you decide to upgrade, you do get a discount for that as well. We do Tuesday, Thursday calls, very active Monday through Friday. You can chat with me, you can chat with Nicole, other people on my team. So if you need support, you basically get Monday through Friday support via the group. And then you get Tuesday, Thursday calls. They are at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So those will be there. So here's what it adds up to: over 6,000. Even at the 1997, it would be a steal. Regular price, $497. But today for you guys, $297, lifetime access, 30 days of Sales Mama School, which again is my high level coaching and support. So I would love, love, love to see you ladies in there. There's so many tools and resources in there, so many things that I would love to help implement with you guys. And I mean, even like the 30 days alone of the Sales Mama School, like I think you'd really get a lot out of those calls. We do the core sales trainings on Tuesdays, and then we do our action implementation calls on Thursdays. And it's all around these things that we talk about here. Okay. And we'll get into Q&As here. Okay. So I think Nicole just dropped the link in the chat. I will also send the link out here after this as well. very hands-on support. You can also answer, ask any questions after any of the lessons or modules. We check those at least weekly. So we'll also answer any questions that you have as you're kind of going through things as well. Okay. Let's see here. And you can screenshot this as well if you'd like. Here's just some recent wins from some of the gals. Lots of signups, big wins. I mean, people closing 40K deals, selling, just all kinds of really cool stuff. There's just, yeah, lots of cool stuff that's going on. Pay in fulls, more pay in fulls, automated signups. I mean, there's probably a whole bunch of things that I can still add to there. So, and then before we wrap up, the next thing that we want to do is our giveaway winner. Do we have a winner on the next slide? Okay. So before we wrap up, one of you is going to win my Close More Clients Intensive. This is also normally a $497 investment. So what we will do is we will have a 90-minute deep dive session. We're going to rip apart exactly like whatever bottlenecks you have that could be costing you clients. So it could be like your DMs, it could be your calls, it could be your offer, it could be a myriad of things. All right. But we'll have a 90-minute session. We'll have a custom audit. I will help you also build a script. And then if you've heard of Voxer, it's a voice messaging app. You also get 7 days of Voxer after if you need any help implementing. But together we will create a clear plan that you can use after that 90 days. So that is $497 and one of you is going to get it for free right now. So I don't know who this is, but we are going to, okay, winner is Marina Gardner. Let's see here. Is she here today? Let's see. The person has to be here to win. Let's see. Drop in the chat if you're here. Okay, awesome. She's here. Okay, so send me an email after this and I will send you a freebie link to register for that. And then just a quick reminder that you guys will also receive your sales quick start with the replay this afternoon. Okay. And Q&A time. We got about 5 minutes left. So here's some questions that I typically get from these live trainings with this, but I know there was one in here, so I am going to answer that. And if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Do you have recommendations on creating a sales script of sorts that I use? I work with female and health providers doing daily cast, admin support, project management, and various building tasks. Yes. So for this, I would ask them, I mean, this is something that since you won, we can obviously like create a script for you as well. But what you could do, types of questions that you would ask is how much time, let's see here, work with female health providers, wellness providers doing daily tasks. I would ask them things like, how much time are they spending on daily tasks? How much tasks do they have that are incomplete? How much, time and energy is it taking up? How much energy or, brain capacity? It's kind of like the decision fatigue. Also talk a little bit about procrastination too, because the more we procrastinate on those things, that can also affect like how you show up in your business as well. I would also ask them what are their least favorite like tasks that they like, the first things that they would outsource. What are the things that you dread doing, right? Is it email management? Is it this project? Is it that project? I would get really clear on what the things are that they don't want to be doing. I would also ask them things like, have they hired anybody before and what their experience was? I would also ask them if they are familiar with the hiring process, and if they're familiar with like ranges or budgets or anything like that, just to kind of get an idea. I would also put something like that on your call booking form to kind of get an idea of like where somebody is at financially. I would also ask them like, what are their financial goals? So you can kind of see where they're at. Like, are they a 10K? Like, are they making 10K a month? Or are they making 100K a month? Right. So you'll kind of understand like, am I going to work 2 to 3 hours a month or am I going to be 20 to 30 hours a month? Right. That'll kind of help set you up for success for that call as well. And then I would also ask them something about, what has been their, their biggest hurdle or obstacle with, with hiring somebody, or like, why is now the time with hiring somebody? What has changed or something along those lines, I think would be a good thing to ask too. So, okay. How do I know if my offer is priced right or if I should raise it? Oh, you're welcome. Let's see here. We got a few minutes. I'll answer these. How do I know if my offer is priced right or if I should raise it? What I say is, if you are getting like 100% close rates, or 70%, 80%, like if you are getting like really high close rates, it's time for you to start raising your rates. You really want to be kind of in that 50 to 60% close rate, or even like 40 to 60% close rate. Like that's a pretty good close rate. If you are consistently getting like super low, we need to look at your offer. We need to look at how you're closing. We need to look at what you're saying, what your audience is. And so there's a lot that's kind of going into here. But to determine whether or not it's priced right, we need to look at your audience. We need to look at your offer. We need to look at your close rates and kind of go from there. But generally speaking, if you're consistently closing very, very high, you could probably bump up that price, to supply and demand, basically. So what do I say to someone when they say they can't afford it? Depends on the person, but the very first thing that I ask is get a better understanding of their financial situation. When they say they can't afford it, I want to know, is it that they have $0 in their bank account, or is it that they have not set aside funds budgeted for this specifically? The reason I say that is because, again, I have been in sales for a very long time. I have been in high ticket sales for like this type of sales specifically for about a decade. And I have talked to people that have said they have no money for this, but they have $10,000 sitting in savings or $100,000 sitting in savings, right? So we don't want to assume that when somebody says they can't afford it, that they have $0, right? And then there's those that I've talked to that have $0, but they are super resourceful. Like, it comes down to how bad do they want it, right? And so some people will be like, man, I just can't afford that. But what they want is you to help them find a way to afford it. Okay. So don't take I can't afford it for surface value. Ask them further questions. And then after you get a better understanding of their financial situation, I would say, well, if money wasn't an issue right now, would this be something that you would want to move forward with? And so we remove the money objection and see if there's anything underneath of that. And if they said, no, it's just the money, I would say, well, if we can figure out the money part, do you want to move forward today? Right. And then we would figure out the money part. Right. And if they still said no, then I would go into whatever the objections were from there. Okay. How do I avoid sounding pushy in the DMs? This is where I go into my no apology sales method. But this is where, again, if somebody pours their heart out to you, you don't just want to send a link. You always want to acknowledge and ask a question, acknowledge and ask a question, right? And we want to do that 3 to 5 times. And if they feel like a good fit, then invite them in to either, a training or an event or a freebie or a phone call or, a low ticket offer. We want to do like a low barrier entry for people before we go and pitch them something large. Okay. What's the fastest way to book clients if I need sales this month? I personally love live trainings, but you can also do 9-word emails if you have an email list. So just putting it out into your email that, hey, are you still looking for help with XYZ, or are you still struggling with XYZ? And just real basic email, see who replies to that. You can also follow up with any warm leads from the last 30, 60, 90 days that have shown any interest. So people who have opted in for things, people you've had phone calls with, people who have, clicked or watched or anything like that. That would be the quickest thing to do. If you are in some of like the agency, type of area, you can do cold calling. I know that that's not everybody's favorite, but it is a quick way to book clients. You could do, anybody could really do cold DMing, cold outreach. There's a lot that can actually happen with that if you do it the right way. So how do I balance content creation with actually closing clients? Batch work. You don't want to be creating content every single day. You want to be sitting down and creating, a week's worth of content at a time or a month's worth of content at a time, so that you can focus at least an hour a day on sales and marketing. Like, you should be focusing a bulk of your time on sales and marketing. If you're not bringing in sales, you need to be focusing a heavy amount on sales and marketing. Okay. So batch work, content calendars, things like that. Okay. Now I'm going to answer some questions about Sales Mama groundwork, and then we'll hop off for today. Okay. Sales Mama groundwork Q&A. And if anybody else has any questions at all, pop them in the chat and I will make sure to answer those. I will stay on and answer those before we hop off. How fast will I see results with groundwork? Honestly, results vary depending on how quickly you implement, but we have had people see results in like 2 weeks. I mean, we've had gals that have gone through some of my programs and some of my courses, and I mean, they have like doubled, tripled, quadrupled within like 30 days, within 2 months. So you can see results very, very, very quickly. I mean, even from today, if you guys take and implement some of these things that you've learned today with like the closing and stuff, I mean, you could see results as early as today with some of this stuff. Is this just another course, or will it actually help me sell? While this is in course format, this will actually help you sell. There are scripts, there are templates, there are systems, there are software. There are so many things that I recommend to people that it's not just like, hey, this is the thing. It's very detailed. And then you also obviously get, 30 days access to Sales Mama School, where that's, the live training and whatnot too. But you can ask any questions at any time as you're going through the content. And like I said, we are in there at least once a week answering any of the questions that people have as they go through there. So next question, do I really get access to Sales Mama School? Yes. So you get access to the live calls. You get access to the community, and then you get access to the basic Sales Mama method, and you get access to that for 30 days. And then if you decide to upgrade, you unlock everything in Sales Mama School, and then you would be with us for an extended period of time. So, but once you're in, we can talk about that, if it feels like a good fit. So what if I don't have a ton of time right now? Honestly, nobody has any time. So, I mean, you could do this in like 15 minutes a day. You can do it in an hour a week. You have lifetime access. So, I mean, it's, whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be like something that you binge. Hang on, honey, I'm on a phone call. Okay. You don't have to binge it. We got kitties. It doesn't have to be something that you binge. You can do it in like, 15, 20-minute increments. You can do it while you're sitting in bed at night. There's an app, so it's like super easy to consume. And then like what videos are in there, you can also listen to them podcast style. So you don't actually have to like watch the videos. You can just listen to them if you want. Yeah, try to make it as digestible as possible. And why is it only $297? What's the catch? There is no catch. I just want more people to have this information. So I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible without, trying to be as accessible as possible without, while still trying to be profitable, I guess. So there's no catch. Plus, I just want more people to, have the type of support that they want, that they need, because there's so much. This is going to sound awful, but there's just so much shit out there, right? Like there's so much stuff out there that just doesn't work for women, right? Or there's like really good marketing stuff out there, and then they buy into it, and it's like, well, this is something that everybody has already said before, it's not actually helpful, right? It's like the same stuff that everybody else has been saying for the last 3 years. It's nothing new. It's not real sales help. It's not real sales advice. It's not real sales systems. It's just more social media stuff, right? It's not anything that's foundational. It's not anything that's actual business building. It's not anything that's like internal that's going to help you with sales calls, with sales scripts, with sales systems, with foundational stuff in and off of social media, right? Because social media is not your business. There's so much more to it than just that. And I feel like everything we see out there is just very much focused on that. So I want people to have a solid foundation so that they can scale and not have to shut down in 6 months. So, because there's stats out there that I think it's like 80% of women entrepreneurs don't ever even hit 6 figures. And that sucks. Like I want to change that. So, any other questions that we have before we hop off today? Or any aha moments or anything you guys want to share in the chat before we hop off today?